Dude, I was pretty I was shook. The jet lag, the sun that stayed up for a weird amount of time, the culture shock, and the being completely alone for the first couple of days. Yeah, I was pretty shook, but eventually my other roommates moved in. I started chatting with them, and we found events to go to online, and I started meeting people and making friends pretty fast. I think the shock sort of stayed with me for the first like month or so of the exchange, but I think that that's really great actually, because it sort of left me disposed to feeling new things and opening myself up as a person, whereas before I wasn't really as open.
Well, I was very, very tired because I had taken an overnight flight from Vancouver to London Gatwick, so I was functioning when I arrived in Birmingham on no sleep, maybe 1 or 2 hours of sleep on the plane. So it was very overwhelming. I think the sleep deprivation kind of created a sheen over how I arrived. But once I actually got to my accommodation, it was really easy to settle in. I was able to buy some little home bits that I wasn't able to bring with me, and it definitely wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. It was very, very straightforward, especially since I was very jet lagged and had never been to Europe before.
So, living my whole life in Kelowna, moving to Korea was a cultural shock, both in the sense of moving to a new country and culture and also moving to a mega city of 10 million people. So, I was totally lost for the first few months, but and probably made a lot of cultural blunders, but I was so excited and constantly stimulated by the environment that I sort of hardly had time to even notice.
The easiest way to make friends is through your classes and through club activities. But I would also highly recommend just going up to people and talking to them when you want to. People are a lot more approachable than we give them credit for, and you can never go wrong if you open with a corny joke.
If you end up going to the University of Amsterdam, there is nothing I can recommend more highly than joining the International Student Network. The International Student Network is similar to a club at UBCO in that it has an executive team that plans different activities and events throughout the year. One of the things that they organize is an introduction week before the start of school. So for me, this happened in the middle of August before school started in September. It was by far the best way that you can make friends. I made a ton of friends through my intro week group, and I would highly recommend that you take part in it as well. The International Student Network also organizes things like Dutch culture nights, as well as trips to other countries. So with them, I got to go to Oktoberfest in Munich, Germany. I got to go to Prague in the Czech Republic, and I got to go to Luxembourg.
It sounds cliche, but honestly, just putting yourself out there and trying to attend as many university events or international student specific events as you can really gives you a great opportunity to meet both people from the local area, but also other international students who often have crazy amount of things in common with you, both the desire to travel, the desire to meet new people and have shared experiences. Having those shared characteristics with a lot of other people that you'll meet really helps you make friends very quickly.
The international community at the University of Iceland organized events for the international students, and dude, you gotta go to these because, oh my god. So first of all, the events are fun, but also everybody there is an international student who, like you, has no friends whatsoever. And so everybody's very keen to make friends, and it makes the whole experience really easy and really comfortable to get to know these people.
Okay, so when I was looking at what classes I want to take in Edinburgh, the first thing I did was looked at what classes they offered because I didn't want to go in thinking that I would take something and then find out they didn't offer them at all. So check with your partner institution that you want to go to and see if they have a list of current courses for exchange students or international or visiting students. They might call them different things. And just see what they have. And then I kind of looked at what was left in my degree here at UBCO and see what credits I needed to fill and what I could wait to take, like when I got back to UBCO. And then I thought about what classes I want to take because I can't take them at UBCO. So these are things like after looking at the the course list at Edinburgh, I saw that they had a couple of like Scottish culture courses, Scottish history courses, and I knew there was no way I was ever going to be able to take those at UBCO. So that's one thing I really wanted to do, was get kind of immersed in the culture and take a course about where I was. So I took Conceptualizing Scotland with Dr. Gary West, and that was an amazing course because it was all about how Scotland identifies as a nation and what that means to them. So yeah, big thing about picking classes was what I needed to fill, what I could take again when I got back to UBCO that I didn't have to take while I was over there and stress myself out. And then just interests. So I just took what was interesting.
I knew I had to hit some of my core chemistry courses to meet the degree requirements for my UBCO degree, so I first tried to cross some of those off the list, but beyond that, I asked an academic advisor at UWA to point out maybe some of the courses that had an Australian point of view to them, or Australian history, other things like that, and I ended up taking both an Australian literature course and an Australian history course that ended up being very informative and really helped enrich my experience, having a better understanding of where I was and the people I was interacting with.
So since English language courses offerings were sort of limited at my institution, and particularly in my discipline, I was more or less forced to take a wide breadth of different options, sort of different electives in different fields, and that included some sort of regionally specific topics. But this turned out to sort of be a blessing in disguise, as I was able to sort of pursue coursework that I wouldn't have had the chance to otherwise. I pursued coursework with a graduate school, and it sort of gave me the academic freedom to sort of shop around with material that I would not have otherwise seen.
It was super easy. They definitely pushed the societies fair and the sports fair that I mentioned earlier to all the students getting involved in Birmingham. Just by kind of having a wander through that society organization, I found a bunch of societies that were really passionate about music and about writing and about journalism. And definitely the students there are very approachable, and they definitely encourage you to get involved because it is a very big university and it's easy to get overwhelmed if you're not involved in something. So it's nice to just have a group of people that you have something in common with, and it's definitely a lot of fun.
So the University of Edinburgh is great. It was super easy to get involved in campus activities and societies and clubs and everything. They have a huge welcome week, so it's literally like an entire week. You don't have classes, you just do fun events. All the clubs do introductory events. There they call them societies. All the societies do all the introductory events. And they do even just like around the city events. So they had like a Harry Potter walking tour. They did a trip where they took you to IKEA. So just to kind of get you situated in the city, it was great. And then they're always posting, they have an events app actually. So they post all the events on the app, and you can check the app and see what's going on. There's lots of posters all around the place with different events happening, Keeley dances, holiday celebrations, movie nights, so many things. And the societies are always excited to have new people join and visiting students to join. So they're super open, super easygoing. Most of them did have a fee to join, but they were minimal. Because I was there for only one semester, most of them were only £4 or £5 for the semester. And if you go to the majority of the events, it more than pays for itself. It's also great too because the University of Edinburgh has like an international exchange student society, and so this society organizes pub nights, but the big thing that they do is they organize trips, so day trips, overnight trips around Scotland. So we got to go to like the Glenfinnan Viaduct for a day trip. We went overnight to the Isle of Skye, and that's super cheap. First of all, it was great. And then it's just super easy because they just load you all on a bus, they drive you around, and you get to go and see that. So it was great.
A very important thing I think everyone in exchange should do is immerse yourself in the culture. If you really want to get the feel of a place, you need to engage in their culture. That means exploring their food, their leisure activities, the history, the art, and engaging in conversations with people as well. Study. Don't forget to study.
I would say join any sort of cultural connection or student buddy programs that pair you up either with local or international Students, this gives you a really sort of good starting point to meet people when you go to a new environment and you don't know anybody, because a lot of those people are in the same boat or they're looking to meet international students. So I think that's always a really good place to start if your university offers that.
Do literally everything that you're even vaguely interested in. I promise you, if you start making time for stuff, signing up for things, chatting with people while you're there, you're going to discover one of the best things about exchange, and that's discovering new things about yourself and new things that you're interested in. And you're going to be meeting people along the way. It's definitely worth it.
Well, my university actually had an entire day dedicated to joining different clubs and societies, as well as a separate day for joining sports. So that was definitely one of the ways that students were encouraged to try and get involved on campus, as well as they're super involved on social media and on Instagram. I ended up joining 2 different societies in particular, no sports, I'm not very athletic, but I joined the Birmingham Music Society and the Birmingham Students for Choice Society. The first one is for people that are super involved in music, super interested in songwriting and music production, and the second one is for students that are kind of wanting to take a focus into gender and women's studies, and we're passionate about women's rights.
When I first arrived in Australia, I was living with a friend and his family, so I was able to live decently well off of just savings that I'd accrued in the previous couple of years. But in my second semester, I decided to move out with a couple of friends and I needed a bit more money, so I decided to go find a job. I was able to find a job in the hospitality industry and then work a couple of nights a week that would give me enough money to pay the new rent and some grocery bills that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to afford. And this made things a lot easier financially.
Well, I set up a UK bank account as quickly as I could once I got there so that I was able to just move money over and see it in terms of British pounds instead of Canadian dollars. But before that, I did a couple of different things. First of all, I would just use my credit card as a debit card and move money over. But the thing that helped me the most was taking out British currency as much as I could whenever possible, just because that way I was able to keep track of my spending in terms of pounds instead of Canadian dollars and would see right there how much I was spending instead of having to purchase something on my credit card and then having to kind of calculate later how much the equivalency was, because the British pound to Canadian dollar exchange rate is not really the best and it fluctuates a lot. So being able to see how much I was spending as I was spending it definitely helped me stay on budget.